Okay. All right, so I'll try to pay attention because it looks like with Google Meets I need to admit people manually and let them in, so I might have to pause and do that as people enter, but I'll start teaching and we'll get going. I'm going to really try to, anything I need to explain, to do it while you guys are doing an exercise, so that way you're not just sitting and listening to me and being bored for a long period of time. So we'll make it really active, and while you're doing the exercise, I'll explain more about it. The big thing I just wanted to express before we start is that you're in charge of your own bodies. Please, I come second to what your body is telling you. If your body's like, this hurts, this doesn't feel good, I feel like this is going to make it worse, then please skip the exercise or do something else that you'd rather do. Don't feel like I'm forcing you to do something that your body is telling you is not good. So that's sort of the big preface here. So the email that you guys would have gotten was the No More Lies Back Pain class. I'll sort of review those lies that I talked about while we're doing the exercises and what the actual truth is. But what we're going over today is some of the main root causes for most people's back pain, and it's not necessarily what you think. So we'll jump right in and I'll explain more as we go. The first exercise that we're going to do here is with that lacrosse ball. So I'm going to get you guys rolling, and then I'm going to sit back down so that you can see me better. So what we're doing is against the wall. So hopefully you guys have a flat spot. You're going to take your lacrosse ball against the wall, and we're going to be rolling our glutes. So we have this muscle in the glute, sort of like down by the sit bone, called the piriformis. You're going to get the ball right in the glute, up against a flat wall. That same side that your leg is on, your toes are going to turn out a little, and we're just going to shimmy back and forth to get the ball in that spot. It's probably going to feel like a little pinchy, a little sore. A little bit is okay, but we don't want it to be excruciating.
Okay.
So go ahead and find that spot on the wall and get started on whichever side, right or left. Okay, there, hopefully I've admitted the people that were waiting. Okay, so as we go and roll that spot, reminder, lacrosse ball against the wall on the glute, rolling back and forth. It's going to be a little tender, a little pinchy, and that's all right. Just try to make sure that it's a moderate amount of pressure and not excruciating.
So Lindsay, is it a diagonal kind of move or a horizontal?
So you're moving your body just left and right, and if you just hit a good spot that feels like it needs it, you're welcome just to pause and stay still there as well.
Okay.
And I did get a message here that someone's having issues with their camera. That's totally fine as long as you can hear me and see me. I don't mind. I do love it when you guys have your camera and your mic on because I like to talk to you and make sure it's going well, but if it's not possible, all good. So the reason that we're rolling our glutes here is this is one of the big causes of low back pain. We've got the hip bones here that then meet in the back called something called your SI joint or sacroiliac joint. Don't worry, no quiz at the end to have to remember that. But this muscle that you're rolling here can get really tight and pull the hips out of alignment and cause some of that pinchiness in the glute and extending up into the low back. So even though it's coming from the hip, we often feel the pain in the low back. I would say that's like 75% of people's low back pain that I see in the clinic.
Sure.
Hey, we have more friends joining us. Okay, so if you've been rolling as long as I have, you probably feel like you've gotten a good amount of release on that one glute. Let's go ahead and switch to the other side. So again, lacrosse ball and the bottom part of the glute, sort of just above where that sit bone is. And then against the wall, that leg, that side, toes are going to turn out so that it opens up the hip a little bit. And then just shifting your hips side to side to roll the ball back and forth. You should be on a spot that feels pinchy and sore, and if you're not, feel free to move the ball around and explore.
Lindsay, which way are your feet supposed to be out?
So here, can I show you my feet?
Yeah.
So if I have the ball on this side, I'm going to turn my foot out like that, about a 45-degree angle.
Okay, perfect.
And then, yeah, just take hips back and forth. All that does is just opens up the hip joint a little bit so you can get at this muscle a little better. So just as a recap, in that email that I sent out to you guys, I talked about the 4 lies that people often believe about low back pain. And the first one was that it's weight related, that somehow gaining 5 pounds or 10 pounds or something has caused your low back pain. I'm always really frustrated when someone comes in to see me and they've seen a doctor that maybe said that. Our bodies are meant to fluctuate. We can withstand change. 5 or 10 pounds means nothing on your muscles and joints. 100 pounds or 200 pounds, maybe that means a little bit more, but a little fluctuation will not cause this big back pain. So you can put that worry out of your mind. Another thing that people are often told is that they need to stop all activity and just stay sedentary because they have low back pain, which is actually more hurtful than helpful. Your body, again, is made for movement. We want movement. We don't want to stay sitting on the couch or laying on the floor all the time. And then those last 2 reasons, being that once you have back pain, you're doomed with it for the rest of your life, and that it always requires surgery or injection or something like that, that there's no conservative method to use to get around your back pain. So that's all a whole bunch of baloney. There's a million things that could be actually causing your low back pain, and therefore a tailored solution to what that specific thing is. We just need to find what it is for your body. Okay, everybody feeling like you got a good roll on this other side as well?
Uh-huh.
Hurts but feels good at the same time? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So the next thing that we're going to go into, the next exercise, is we're going to do some pelvic tilts. Not only is this good for loosening up the low back, loosening up the SI joint, but it's also a movement that I need you guys to know how to do for the next thing I'm going to ask you to do. So if you want to come down and lay on your back, let me move my camera here. Hopefully you guys can see me well. I would recommend just sort of staying up near your camera and watching me until you lay down so that you know what you're doing. So on your back here, knees bent, you're going to take your fingertips and put them underneath your low back. Then from there, you're going to pretend that your pelvis is like a steering wheel. And first of all, you're going to tuck your tailbone under so that your low back presses against your hands. Then you're going to lift your low back up off so that it arches. So you notice my bum is touching the ground the entire time. It's more of that rotation like a steering wheel and not like a lifting of my bum. So we tuck the tailbone under, flatten out our low back, and then we arch our back and lift up off of our fingers. And we're just going to slowly go back and forth, trying to get acquainted with that exercise. If it's painful for you, then don't go quite so far. Just don't push it on that one if it is painful.
Can you repeat?
I can repeat. Thank you for asking. This one is a challenging one. That's why I like to teach it before I give you any exercises where I say tuck your tailbone under, because then people get confused. Okay, so starting from scratch here, I'll try to fix my sweater so you can see my back. We're laying on our backs, our knees are bent. You're going to take your fingertips and put them underneath your low back. Hopefully everyone's shoulders are good and can reach. Now, we're going to use our pelvis like a bit of a steering wheel. So we're going to be turning it so our bum stays on the ground the whole time. But what we're going to do is with our low back, we're going to press our low back down against our fingertips. You should feel your core working with this. You might feel your bum squeezing, that's great. And you're going to hold that for just a second or two. And then you're going to do the opposite. You're going to tilt the other way so that you lift your low back up off your hands. So I can now move freely underneath my back again. And you're just going to go back and forth. So you're going to squeeze down on your hand, and then you're going to give your hand space. Sort of just rocking back and forth in that pelvic tilt. Did that help the second time around?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks.
Okay, no problem at all.
And are you, when you're like doing one end of the movement or the other, are you staying there and holding, or are you just doing a flow?
Just more of a flow. So I might hold for a second, but really not very long at all.
Right.
Yeah. So just get acquainted here. As you tuck your tailbone under and flatten out, you should feel your core working and your glutes working. As you arch, you're going to feel the muscles of your low back working and maybe even the fronts of your hips. So we've sort of got this X pattern where different muscles are working together. So just pay attention to what you're feeling. Get acquainted with those muscles. They might be really stiff if you've never done this before. That's pretty normal. So keep going with that for another 10 or 15. So what we're going to be doing today, and what we've already started doing, is working through the most common things that cause your low back pain. One of those things being the SI joint in the back being out of alignment from these tight muscles pulling things out. So that's why we rolled the glutes, trying to allow things to let go and go back into the alignment that they should be. And the other thing is if the low back doesn't have proper stability, which comes down to core. So some exercises we're going to do in a moment are going to relate to core and how that can provide a good stable base to hold your low back nice and steady. We're also going to do some exercises for, I hate to use this word, but scoliosis. It's actually very common to have a little bit of a curve in your spine, and it's not very noticeable if it's mild like that. So we're going to make sure that the spine is nice and straight, and that's not putting excess aggravation on the low back. And then, believe it or not, the very last thing is we're going to work on our calves and our ankles, because if there's problems there, you're going to be standing funny, which puts stress on the low back. So probably a lot of things that you've never thought about. Most people think just about their low back, but we're going to look at the whole body as it pertains to this low back pain. Okay, everybody getting a hang of those pelvic tilts? Sort of.
Yep.
Okay, so we are going to do one more rolling exercise, and then we're going to use that pelvic tilt that I taught you in something that's slightly more complicated. So go ahead and find that lacrosse ball again. This time we're going to be rolling our low back. So I'm going to show you on me so that you can find the spot. So we're going to be, I like to describe it like the rib cage and the pelvis has a valley in between it. So here's my spine. I'm not on my spine, but I'm over on one side in between my rib cage and my pelvis. There's a muscle in there that tends to be pretty tight on a lot of people. So again, we're just going to come up against the wall. You're going to have that ball in that valley of your low back on one side. And you're going to come against the wall. And you're just going to lean in a little. Now, for some people, this is immediately going to feel a little tender and like, whoa. So just don't press as hard as you can, but just so that it's a little uncomfortable, a little like hurt so good. Should be able to breathe through it. Now, other people won't feel much at all, and sometimes this muscle takes a moment to relax. So if that's you and you're like, I don't really feel much, I want you to just take some deep breaths. Try to let those muscles start to soften and relax. And what you'll notice is that you can start to feel, okay, it is releasing. There is a little bit of tenderness there. Sometimes it just needs that moment, though. Everybody able to find that spot against the wall?
Are we going up and down?
So you can just hold still at that spot. You can go left to right. You can go up and down. Doesn't matter at all. So listen to your body and see what feels right. The other thing I occasionally like to do is just sort of rotate into it. So I'm turning. Sounds like Davey's voice. Hi, Davey.
Hey. Got all of us. We got Lady, we got Sonia.
Oh, hi, everyone. We got more trickling in, guys. This is amazing. I told Gabriella at the beginning that maybe like 5 people would join us. And here we have a whole group. I'm so pleased. Okay, so just to recap, you're on that valley of the low back in between the rib cage and the pelvis, not on the spine, but on one side. If you feel like you've gotten a really good roll, go ahead and switch to the other side in that valley. I'll show you again up close if you need. And then you're just putting pressure against the wall. And you can hold still if that feels good, or you can do little movements back and forth, up and down, or my favorite, rotating into it.
Do you need to have your feet turned for this one?
Nope, they don't necessarily need to be turned. However, if they are turned, that's not going to make it bad either. Feet sort of don't matter here.
Yours tender.
Hurts so good for some of us. So if you've joined maybe a couple minutes late, maybe you missed my disclaimer at the beginning saying that your body is in charge ahead of me. So if something doesn't feel right, doesn't feel good, it feels like you shouldn't be doing it, it hurts too much, feel free to skip it or change it or whatever you feel you need. Okay. I feel like I'm teaching, but I could do that for 5 more minutes. That feels so good. Okay. Everyone doing all right? You don't hate me yet? Meh.
Okay.
To be determined. Okay, so we're going to do 2 core exercises now. So if you remember, I said the 2 probably main causes of low back pain are SI joint dysfunction, so the hips being out of alignment causing that pinching in the back. We've done a few exercises to address that, or at least the most common components of that. Now we're transitioning into giving your low back some stability, because our core makes this container around our organs and our low back, and that core gives us stability to the spine. So these exercises are a little hard, so bear with me. I will explain them a couple of times. So feel free to watch what I'm doing with my body before you do it on your own, if that helps. The first one, to look at me, you might not see anything at all. It's very, very subtle. So again, I'm laying on my back. I'll try to show you my abdomen as much as possible here. Knees can be bent. With your fingertips, you're going to find your hip bone in the front. So there should be a pretty prominent bone on either side. Dunk, dunk, dunk when you knock on it. From there, you're going to come in about 1 inch so that your fingertips are resting in the bottom of your abdomen. And now your fingertips don't do anything. They just feel so that you know whether you're doing it right or not. Now to engage this muscle deep in the core, it's called your TA muscle for short. To engage it, you're going to gently draw in your abdomen, and you should feel a muscle under your fingertips just sort of press up and activate. And that's all. You're going to hold that for maybe 5 seconds, maybe 10 if you're feeling really strong, and you're going to try to breathe normally. Most people, they hold their breath when they do this. Okay, so if you're watching me, go ahead and lay down, and I'll explain it a second time as we run through it. If you've got it and you're already working on it, then feel free to go on your own time, hold as long as you feel you comfortably can, and relax. So again, just for repetition, on your back, knees bent, fingertips find the hip bones in the front, and then they come just inside about 1 inch so your fingertips rest in the bottom of your abdomen to feel whether you're doing it right. Now to engage this muscle, you're going to gently draw your lower abdomen in, like towards your spine, downwards, so that this muscle engages, and you'll feel it underneath your fingertips. Now if anyone is struggling, I want you just to go and cough, or clear your throat. And you will feel that muscle come up as you cough or clear your throat. This is the muscle that we use to cough, to go to the bathroom and bear down, to laugh, all those things. So you'll feel it underneath your fingertips there. So that'll help you get acquainted with it so that you can do a couple cycles of this exercise. And we're holding, breathing normally for 5 or 10 seconds, and then relaxing. How's that going? You guys able to get it? A little bit? Okay. If it's hard and if you're not sure, that's normal. Very, very normal. It's a hard one to get. Wonderful. So we'll give that muscle a little bit of a break. We're now going to go on to a different core muscle. So that one's sort of the deep core, stability core. And then there's the ones I call the six-pack muscles, which are on the outside. I think everyone can visualize those ones when I say six-pack. So we're going to work on activating those, which comes back to that pelvic tilt movement that I taught you before. Hopefully you remember it. So again, we're on our back. You can have your fingertips underneath your back if that helps. And you're going to tuck your tailbone under so that you press your low back down against your fingers. So this is automatically going to bring those six-pack muscles on. That's what I want. You should feel like you're bracing a little, like you've been punched in the stomach type of bracing. And now if this is your first time learning core, all you're going to do is you're going to hold that position and hold that squeeze for 5 to 10 seconds. And then you're going to relax. If you're a pro at this stuff, you're going to do that and lift both of your legs, keeping pressed down against your fingers. And just keep that, hold that for 5 or 10 seconds, and relax. Now, if you're feeling this in your low back, and if it's uncomfortable or painful in your low back, then try to make the exercises a little easier on yourself. That means that you're not activating quite properly. Okay, so wherever you're at, if you're able to do, let's say, 3 cycles more, keeping that pressed down against the ground or against your fingertips, and go ahead and relax when you're ready. Okay, and again, go ahead and do that tuck under with the pelvic tilt. So your low back presses down. Go ahead and relax. And just do one more time for me if you're able. Okay, wonderful. Everyone doing all right? Looks pretty good. I see no faces. I see a couple thumbs. Thanks, guys. Everyone's laying down, so I see your rooms and not your faces. We're heading back towards the ball again, so go ahead and find that trusty lacrosse ball. If you remember, I said the third most common thing causing low back pain is actually a little bit of a curve in the spine, so a scoliosis, as much as I hate to call it that. So we're going to be rolling actually between our shoulder blades for this one. So same idea with the ball against the wall. I'll show you where you're going to put the ball. So I'll show you my back. Here's my shoulder blade. I'm going to be between my shoulder blade and my spine. So the ball is going to be right there. Once I get the ball in the right spot, I'm going to move my hand so that I don't have to keep my hand there. And same thing, I'm going to either roll side to side, or I'm going to roll up and down, or sort of whatever feels good. You can either stop and hold on a really particularly juicy spot if you find it. Let's see if you guys can see me. Okay, so start on whichever side you like. Get the ball in the right spot, and then move the hand away. And this spot can be a little clunky, so if there's like a clunk as you come off of a muscle, as long as it's not excruciating, then that's totally fine. So you're probably starting to notice that even though this is a low back pain class, we're doing stuff for all over the body, upper back. We're actually going to end doing stuff, like I said, for the calf and the ankle. And if you take nothing else from this class, I hope that you just take that the body is all connected and that your low back pain could be coming from a lot of different places. And even if you've tried treatment, there's likely still something that you haven't addressed or haven't tried, so please don't give up and think that you're like doomed for life. You just need to find the root cause, which is different for every single person. Ooh, anyone else finding like a really juicy spot? I get thumbs up, yeah. And just like all other rolling, if it's really feeling intense, make sure it's uncomfortable but not painful. And if it's like getting to be painful, then back off in intensity. Don't lean quite so hard into the wall. And just remember to breathe. Okay, whenever you're feeling ready, feel free to switch to the other side. Again, I feel like I could spend the next 10 minutes there, but I won't for the sake of our class time. And for you guys that are new to our clinic, if you were on a phone call with us before this class, we would have offered to do a free 30-minute first session with you guys so that we can take a look at your specific body and help guide you to know exactly what that root cause is. Because for you, I'm giving you guys 4 main causes today. You might have 1 or 2 of them, but maybe you have something else contributing to your back pain that I haven't addressed. If you've got any scar tissue in your abdomen from a previous surgery, that can be a really big deal and can impact how our core stabilizes. So there's lots of other things that can be causing low back pain. If I could cover them all for you in a class, I would, but that would take forever. So that's why we're offering you that session, so we can give you guys a little more direction of what your body specifically needs. So if you haven't gone ahead and scheduled that, then let us know. You can send an email or you can let me know at the end of class, whatever works, and we'll get you scheduled for that. Exercises are all well and good, but sometimes you just need someone else's eyes and expertise to see what's going on and lead you in the right direction. Okay. Has everyone rolled both sides? Yes. I'm getting more thumbs up. Love it. Thank you. Okay, we've got 2 more exercises that we're going to cover today. This next one is still in the same line of that scoliosis or that curve in the spine causing some low back pain, but specifically the rotation of the spine, which is what I see the most common. So we're going to do a really lovely twisting stretch for the spine, which should feel good, not painful. So let me adjust my camera again so you can see me. We are going to be laying on our side for this one. So laying on your side, you can have your bottom arm supporting your head. The knees need to be bent and just resting comfortably in front of you. Your top hand is going to become behind your ear, and you're now going to twist and look behind you. And you should get a nice twisting stretch in the back between the shoulder blades. You might even get it up through the abdomen and the obliques. I'm just going to come a little farther, get away from the wall for me. And all we're going to do is we're going to twist, and then we're going to come on back. So we're not holding it, just nice, slow, gradual movement. Now you'll notice my hips are staying still, so I'm not doing this and like opening up my legs and rolling my whole body. My hips and my knees are staying still, and that twist is just coming from my back.
Lindsay?
Yeah.
Well, the biggest problems is exactly in this kind of position at night, on the, like in this case on the ground,
Okay.
which would be on the bed. Like after about 5 minutes, it starts to really hurt, but it's the exact same on both sides. Any tips for that?
It's just when you're sleeping, or just immediately when you lay down it gets sore?
Mostly when I'm sleeping.
Okay.
Like if I were to lay around like here, like doing this exercise for like 5 minutes, then it would start to hurt it. But
Yeah.
same as in the bed. Yeah. And it's just deeper. So just at this exact position, I'm curious.
Yeah. I would say there's some imbalances and some compensation patterns in those muscles that are meant to support the low back, and laying in that position, they just can't support. So I think most people know the trick of like putting a pillow between your knees when you're sleeping, and that can be helpful. So most people have tried that, but the one that most people don't think of is giving your low back support while you're sleeping. So roll up a towel and put it on your side when you're sleeping, and that'll help support the low back. Yeah, most of my clients have that same reaction when I tell them, oh. So sometimes that, instead of like dropping of the low back, this just helps hold it up in a bit more of a neutral position, especially for women. I mean, that's going to happen more when we're sleeping on our side just due to proportions. So that's something you can try just as like a Band-Aid solution to sleep more comfortably. But I think there's got to be some other imbalances going on there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So go ahead and switch to the other side, everyone, if you haven't already. Hopefully you got a really nice twisting stretch there. And I didn't specifically say this, but hopefully you guys are doing it where you look with your head towards your arm, so you're twisting your head as well. Excellent time to take some nice big deep breaths if you haven't already. Let your body really settle in. Okay. I told you guys 2 more exercises, but I lied. I do that sometimes. Now it's 2 more exercises. I almost skipped the one that I told you about at the beginning that you need the big bath towel for. So we're rolling up the bath towel. Now the thicker you roll that big bath towel, the more intense this is going to be. So if we're going to be on our upper back with this, if you know your upper back is really stiff, then roll that towel loosely so you've got like a big squished roll. If you think your upper back isn't too bad, then you can roll that up tightly so it's thicker. Hopefully that makes sense. Once you have your towel rolled up, you're going to position it so it's where your upper back is, and you're going to lay over top of it. So again, I'll try to move my sweater here so you can see me. So I'm laying on my back, knees bent. I've got that towel for women, pretty much like bra line, right underneath the shoulder blades, and you're going to lean back. Now this might be a little uncomfortable, but it shouldn't be excruciating by any means. So if it is, then roll it more squished, not so tightly. And we're going to take some big chest breaths here, specifically bringing the air into the opposite side from where the towel is, bringing the breath into the front of the rib cage while the towel sort of stretches through the back of the rib cage. So nice big deep breaths. Just letting everything stretch into that extended position. Really good for anyone that sits more than they know they should or would like. If you're at a desk for work or anything like that, we're sort of bent forward all the time, and this is really good for just helping the opposite. Now you're going to take your bum and just scoot your bum down a little bit so the roller is now a little higher on your back. Maybe it's in the middle of the shoulder blades now. Now I like to sort of give myself a big bear hug here so that I get my shoulder blades out of the way on this one. So my elbows are pointed up towards the ceiling, and same thing, big chest breaths to expand through the rib cage. Now the reason that we're doing this for low back pain is the stiffer your upper back is, the more movement is expected of your low back, meaning it has to move more than it ideally should, so it's getting irritated and inflamed over time. So we want all of the spine to move, ideally, a bit, but not too much. There's sort of a sweet zone there. Good. One more nice big deep breath. And now just be careful coming up off this. I find if you sit up, it's a little straining on the neck, so what I like to do is just roll to the side off of the towel. Okay. Now, the last and most weird contributing cause for low back pain is actually your ankle, which I know is a little hard to wrap your head around, so I'll try to show you. But if you've got one ankle that likes to turn this way, and the other that likes to turn the other way, your body is going here. Your spine then has to counterbalance and go the other way. So we're creating almost like that scoliosis type curve, but not in the spine of the lower body, where we're sort of all kinked and we're trying to compensate for that imbalance. So we're going to do a nice little self-massage for our calves. What a lovely way to end. So I brought a little massage lotion. You don't need it. So what we're going to do is a specific muscle. I'll show you guys with my warm winter socks on. The inside of the calf. This muscle goes from the bone on the inside all the way up towards the knee. So we're going to get our thumbs in there and massage the inside of our calf. So let me figure out how I can show you guys this well. There. So I like to sit this way while I'm doing it. That way my leg is relaxed. So again, if you've got any kind of lotion that you want to use, go ahead and use that. And I really like teaching people self-massage because most people are hesitant to use their hands to help themselves. But you can sort of learn so much by doing so and feel what's tight and feel what's helpful and feels what feels good or not good. So you can either do what I'm doing, like sort of strokes from the bottom to the top, or you can do little circles. But you're going to feel probably an awfully tight muscle. Most of us have one in there, right behind the bone. Can you guys feel that?
Yep. Yeah, crazy.
That was an emphatic yep. Of course, if you also happen to have foot pain or ankle pain, then like even more reason to do this, but it's just a really nice one to do, especially if you're on your feet a lot or you've had a day where you've been on your feet a lot. This muscle actually comes down to the foot. I said bone, but it does extend lower and it supports the arch. But the only way we can really massage it is through the calf, not necessarily down low. So those people that have like flat feet or like collapsed arches, it's this guy. So remember not to kill yourself. Moderate pressure. It should feel a little uncomfortable, but not excruciating. You should be able to breathe through it really easily. So make sure you've sort of explored the whole muscle, like up by the knee, all the way down in the middle, and all the way down. I know sometimes when you find a tight spot, you're like, oh, that needs attention. But just make sure you get the whole length of it. Specifically, like down by the ankle bone, behind the ankle bone can be a really good sweet spot too. Okay, so feel free to finish up whatever good spot you're on and to switch to the other side when you're ready. I'm so impressed that you guys haven't had to listen to any screaming children above my head tonight. Superb babysitter up there. It's Grandma. She's the superb babysitter. So I guess the other thing I didn't tell you guys is I'm using my thumbs to massage, which you're welcome to do, but if that doesn't feel good for you, you can use fingertips too. Try not to overthink self-massage. Never in my career have I had anyone hurt themselves by doing self-massage. Your body will tell you when it's no good, and it'll be painful or not feel right. So if it's just feeling tight and it's feeling relieving, you're doing yourself nothing but good. Okay. So as we wrap up here, just a quick reminder that if you're new to our clinic, you can take use of that free first session. It's a free 30-minute session with a therapist to give you some direction about what your root cause of your back pain is. So let me know if you need help booking that if you haven't already. But feel free to take these exercises, even the ones that you liked the most. Maybe some of them just didn't do it for you, but there was like 3 or 4 that really did, that you loved. Feel free to take those and use them going forward. I always love giving people the tools that they need to help their pain day to day. So you start to learn more about your body. So I hope that I gave you at least some of those tools. But I'm going to stay on for a couple more minutes. If anyone has any questions or anything for me, or needs help booking that session or anything, I'm going to stay on. But if you're like good and hopefully a little bit of relief from all of that, then feel free to take your leave and have a nice night. I'm always available by email too if you guys need to get a hold of me. It's just Lindsay with an AY at cesporttherapy.com. So feel free to send me an email if you need anything, or just stick around and ask a question. Okay?
Thank you, Lindsay.
You're very welcome.
Lindsay, that was great. I did have one quick question.
Yeah.
What about past injury? Like I broke my tailbone when I was a kid. So, how does, that's obviously in the same location.
It depends the extent of it, whether it was a small little hairline fracture that healed over just fine. A lot of the time, especially with the tailbone, there tends to be a little bump there. So if you were to have an x-ray, you'd have a little bit of excess bone growth. It sort of depends exactly where the fracture was. If it's near the outside where the joint is, it can impact how that joint is moving. Just meaning that we need to take more care and attention and make sure things are optimized there and moving as well as possible. I think of the ones that I've seen, most of the time they haven't been